The Mexican drug war has been fought on two very different fronts, the United States and Mexico. To understand how the United States' involvement has essentially been a failure, you must look at the policies that have led to this point. One current policy that exemplifies the reason for the failure has been the Marietta Initiative, which was formed in 2008 and is still currently going on today. The Marietta Initiative is considered an anti-crime aid package from the United States that promises Mexico nearly $1.6 billion. The goals of the Marietta Initiative include objectives such as dismantling and disrupting organized crime, strengthening institutions, building a 21st century border, and building strong and resilient communities. To understand the goals of the Marietta Initiative, you have to delve into the background behind two of the most important proponents of the initiative, strengthening Mexico's institution and building strong and resilient communities. The idea of strengthening Mexico's institutions primarily focuses on the policing system, justice system, and civil society organizations. Throughout this goal, the United States has promised and actually has begun to train police officers, justices, prosecutors, defenders, etc. Along with training these officials and military personnel, the United States has provided Mexico with advanced military technology, including 8 Bell helicopters for the Army and Air Force, 3 UH-60M Black Hawk helicopters for the Federal Police, and Navy scanners, X-ray machines, and other inspection equipment. The reasons provided by the United States government for providing these materials is that they provide for rapid transport of personnel for counter-narcotics and other security operations. The goal of building strong and resilient communities include the idea of beginning to promote the rule of law by the implementation of the newly formed justice system, to begin to address the needs of vulnerable populations such as that of the youth and victims of crime, increase knowledge and respect for human rights, and to increase community and government cooperation. Essentially, the idea of this goal is to begin to also establish a better economy so that fewer individuals feel the need to revert to drug trafficking. While the Marietta Initiative seems to be helpful and has established a new direction for the relationship between the United States and Mexico, there are still many flaws that remain. What the Marietta Initiative does not take into account is that corruption has run rampant throughout the police system and government. It has been well documented that people of the policing system engage in bribery often. Therefore, how does this initiative begin to address this corruption? The answer is that there is no guarantee that it will or will not stop corruption. Taking this into account, there are disastrous consequences that could occur if there are corrupt leaders that have been given technological advantages such as weaponry. What stops them from selling the items off to cartels? Also, another component that factors in is the idea that soldiers and police may fear that if they intervene or confiscate drug loads or eliminate drug cartel members, that they could be executed. This installation of fear has in ways hindered the progress of the Marietta Initiative. So overall, the United States needs to begin to rethink not only the policy, but the money that they are throwing at the problem. Aside from the Marietta Initiative, there are other aspects that have rendered the war on drugs in Mexico ineffective. One aspect that has been proven ineffective is that the United States has been fighting the prohibition of illegal substances, which in turn has actually driven up prices of drugs. Prices of illegal substances has steadily risen not only because of the high risk of transporting the drugs, but also because the United States is the largest importer of illegal drugs in such as marijuana and cocaine. Additionally, the war on drugs has been ineffective because it has used outdated tools that have little effect. It has been noted, especially among Border Patrol agents, that for every vehicle they stop and catch with drugs, there are a multitude of people that pass through that end up transporting drugs anyway. Since vehicle transportation of drugs over the border makes the most economic sense, drug traffickers have adapted directed against the various searching techniques conducted by Border Patrol agents. Drug traffickers, for example, have been able to stuff drugs into the dashboard of cars, put drugs in the engine, and many other techniques. Since there is profit motivating this sort of behavior, there is little to stop drug traffickers from successfully transporting drug loads. As of 2008, as a result of the combination of the failure of the Marietta Initiative and the way the United States has fought the war on drugs, about 40,000 drug-related deaths have occurred. By beginning to reflect upon these factors that have caused this intensifying violence, the United States needs to begin to take a new approach to dealing with the Mexican drug war. There are solutions that can begin to alleviate the violence in the drug trafficking trade throughout Mexico. For example, the United States could begin to decriminalize not only the use of illegal substances, but the distribution of them. Reasons for doing so, in theory, allow for the prices of drugs to plummet because pharmaceuticals would produce them much more cheaply, and this will put the violent cartels out of business. Another reason for decriminalizing drugs is that alcohol and prescription drugs have proven to be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Other solutions, including eliminating the Marietta Initiative and the federal government enforcement agencies and programs. The benefit of eliminating both will, hopefully, help to decrease corruption along the border and allow for possibly one cohesive agency that deals with the violence and other more serious crimes across the border. As well as there being benefits of the proposed solutions, there are also possible consequences. For example, it is possible that more dangerous substances would be in arm's reach for youth members. There are also possibilities that with lesser enforcement along the border, that violence from Mexico may inevitably spill into the United States further. As proposed before, we must revise the approach that we have followed for the past few decades regarding the Mexican drug war because it has been ineffective. Hopefully with changes, stability may benefit both countries with a decrease in violence and an increase of economic potential.